Hello, hello, everyone. How is everyone on today? Happy Friday to you. I hope that everyone is getting ready for their safe, fun, beautiful weekend. Barbecues, hot dogs, hamburgers, ribs, steaks, corn on the cob, baked beans, potato salad, pound cakes, cookies, cheesecake, punch, that homemade Kool-Aid. Can't leave that out. Lemonade, ice cream, whatever it may be, whatever it may be. And I pray that God will give you some type of sense of relief on this 30 years, on this 30 years. And I know that some of you have probably have wet pillowcases. And some of you have had to step back and think about it, uh, take a step away because things like this can be shocking. And to some it's shocking and to some it's not. Because when you're dealing with this type of system of people that lack mercy, that lack regard for human life, that don't fear God, this is what they do when they feel they have certain backings of people and power. And we got to take back our power and be empowered. And we got to be smarter than the next person. We've always had to be more than anybody else to get ahead in society. And when I look back and think about everything that's transpired and what's been said and how some of our own people played a big part in what has happened. And I want to share this because I was talking to this man today, leaving a store, and I was talking with him, and I thought about what is her name? The lady that was caught up in the college scammer. Her husband's last name is Massimo. And he used to have a line at Nordstrom years ago and then at Target, but they're coming back. His line is out there or coming back. But anyway, and you still see his line in some of the stores, discount stores. But anyway, um, she was the one that held out and said she wasn't going to go to jail. She was going to fight this. And some other people like Felicity, she went on and accept her punishment. But this particular woman, and I can't remember her name right now, and I'm not even going to dig that up. But anyway, she, went on and pleaded eventually and served her whatever time. And guess what? She's already back in Hollywood, already back on whatever some place she was at, and there was a backdrop, and she's already back, and they've already welcomed her back. And she may even be back working in Hollywood, but she's already been back joining forces in Hollywood. And when I thought about that when I was in the store, and when I got outside, it was this man outside, and he was talking. Well, actually, he walked out with me and he started talking to me. And he was sharing a story with me about how he was accused of domestic violence by his wife, and the children wasn't his, they were hers, but he married a woman with children already. And he said that he had witnesses that knew he was innocent, some good witnesses, and that his wife at the time had his children, she coerced them to lie on him. He also shared with me that the judge that was overseeing his case in that courtroom put all of the people out except for his attorney, the prosecutors, and of course the judge was there, him, and it was, I believe he said someone else was there. And she told him that she believed he was innocent. She knew he was innocent. And he had good witnesses, reliable witnesses. But she told him, he said, this is what he's saying in his words, but she was going to find him guilty anyway. And I brought Mr. Kelly up, and I said, start to talk to him. And he automatically, immediately said R. Kelly was guilty. And I said, but you just shared your story with me. And there are some similarities there about being innocent, but still being found guilty. And he didn't really want to hear it, but I said, hold up, brother, hold up. I've listened to your story, and I want to share some things with you. And I said, and I thought about how a lot of Black people will never let something go. They will go on for years, even if you didn't do it, but you was accused, even if you might have did something and you've been vindicated or you served your jail time, they won't let it go. You will go to your grave with folks not letting it go. And I told him, a lot of Black people do this, so don't attack me in my comments, but a lot of Black people do it, and a lot of Black people were involved in this takedown, involved in this situation. And they'll never let it go. But my point is right here is that we have this woman that participated in the college scam, and they've already re-embraced her, already accepted her back into Hollywood. Already. And she was guilty. But they've accepted her back into Hollywood, and she's getting back into her films or movies or sitcom or whatever it might be. I can't think of her name right now, and I'm not going to dig, but you all should know who I'm speaking of. But anyway, that's how they do. You served your time. But when it comes to certain Black people, certain sectors, I'll say that, they'll never let it go. But like I told this man, now you telling me you believe that he's guilty, but you, because I asked him, because before he told me his story, I asked him if he had a record, and he told me yes. And I said, so you got a record, you had a judge that knew you was innocent, had good witnesses to say you were innocent, and know you were innocent, but she told you you were innocent, but she's still gonna find you guilty. And I said, now you telling me that you believe RSK is guilty, but you got some similarities in your own case. So you still living in the demise of the takedown, if your story is true. I didn't question his story like that. It sounded true. He's a Black man, and we know what happens with a lot of Black men. Some lie, a lot of them tell the truth about their experience in the judicial system, going through the courts and the due process or lack of due process. But I told him, I said, so you standing here telling me your story. You still standing stuck in the demise of what this white judicial court system has done to you, but the first thing out your mouth was to tell me that R. Kelly did it. I said, wow, wow. And he brought up 30 years. 30 years he been doing this. So you got to look at the 30 years that Judge Donnelly gave him, because they have accused him of doing something for 30 years. So she gave him a year of everything for 30 years. You think about it. And I thought about what this man said, and we had a respectful conversation. But I told him, you have got to do your research, but you got to look at, you weren't there with the transcripts, you didn't hear them. You only going on what the white media says, but you're also going on, because I thought about it and I said, again, I said this before and I'll say it again some time ago, it was probably last year, or even in 2020. There is the law of morality, and then you have the laws, the man-made laws. So a lot of people are dealing with moral issues, morality, and it's being mixed up. It's being, and you got the law, the public opinion is not the law, and you have the women, liberal feminine movements that have hijacked this American judicial system, and so now you have a situation where they're not doesn't appear that they're going to hold these parents accountable for human sex trafficking. They're not going to hold them accountable for the part they played. They're not going to hold other people accountable because one man is not an enterprise. And I can see where people can't sleep because their pillow is too wet. I can see that. I can see the tears and the pain and the sorrow and the suffering. And I can see the fear of where it seems like they're trying to take our country backwards instead of forward. And the scales are starting to we thought that they were rising up for us on our behalf, but now we see the scales are starting to tilt back down. And I touched a little on Roe versus Wade, how women have to hold themselves accountable and they have to make better choices, and so do men, but women also, and that God placed women in a certain status, a certain standard that we have to carry as women that can bear children. Majority of us, unless you're barren, you can bear children. And so unless something medically has happened to you, or or you've suffered some type of abuse, and I don't take none of that lightly, and I pray that you're getting the help and that you're healing from all of that. But what I'm saying is that we women are placed in a position, whether you believe in God or not, we're placed in a position that God has placed us in. And if you go back to Genesis, we are in this position. And so we as women really have to take the high road when it comes down to what we're going to do when we get in a situation. We can't blame it on the man, and the man can't blame it on the woman if you're not protecting yourselves when you get in that situation. You know what I'm talking about for adults. And because we can get pregnant, impregnated with a child, then we as women got to make some decisions that will hold us accountable to the standard that God has already placed us in. We can't keep saying that the serpent in the Garden of Eden made me do it, and I was, bamboozled by the serpent, because everybody know the devil is a father of liars. He's a manipulator, and he's going to use others to harm other people and victimize them. I talked about that many, many times. And so when we look at stepping out in hope and RSK You Still Stand, stepping out in hope, stepping out in hope, not hopeless, but hopeful. Hopeful, HOPEFUL. You are hopeful in the midst of 30 years. You are hopeful. You remain hopeful even in the sentencing of 30 years. You are hopeful, and you still stand, and we still stand, and we cannot give up hope. Even if our pillowcase is too wet and we have to change it before we go to sleep, or if we can even fall asleep based on the situation. And it's not just about this little small thing that people want to say, well, it's about the, it is a bigger picture here that we are facing, and a lot of people don't see it. Because when you look at this system, the same system that has been against us, this is the same system that have now have now are using their own people, using our own people, using our own people to destroy the same men that they've been doing for years. Now they're just using our own women to do it. It used to be a point where they were doing it, but they say, we don't have to do it no more. We got them bought in. We have bought in these women, black women. I'm not saying all, but they have got black women to buy into a white system to destroy their very own black man. Now, I'm not saying all black women, but there's a lot of black women out here that I have seen help destroy a black man, black men. And this is not over, people. And R. Kelly is not going to be the last. But I've seen it, and I'm watching this play out. And I think the hardest part for me was having to accept that it's just so many evil doers in my own race that I share with other people. But this same system they are using our very own black women destroy our very own black men. And I don't know if people see that or not, but I've been seeing it for a long time. My eyes have been wide open for a long time. I am not for abuse. I don't condone any of that. I don't condone bad behavior. I don't condone breaking laws. But guess what? When wrong is wrong, is wrong. If right is right, is right. But utilizing and using the judicial system to manipulate laws to get a conviction is wrong on every level. Can it even change? Can our judicial system be revamped? Can it be changed? Because we have seen so many times where injustice was given down, handed down. And now it's more and more men having to fight their cases and take it to the Supreme Court, or take, to the, what I'm saying, the appellate court, or the Supreme Court, to get it to be overturned. And so when I look at pillows being too wet, I understand the pain. But I have to look at, I serve a mighty God. And it don't matter. I mean, like, it matters, but I'm saying that if I got to keep waiting on God, and it's going to be in his time when he does things, and he's still exposing people. I mean, like, he exposed this warrant on Emmett Till. He's still exposing people. And he says, if my people will turn from their wicked ways. ... You can read the scripture. And my people perish for lack of knowledge. ... And I'm coming because God continues to use me to try to help people, to inspire people, to give them hope, to encourage them, because we got to be encouraged on every level. We have to be encouraged. We got to stop thinking wishfully and start living hopefully. Can I say that again? We have got to stop thinking wishfully and start living hopefully. I wish they would stop saying this. I wish they would stop beefing. No, we got to start living hopefully. If you're part of the wishful, you wish they will wishfully stop being part of that wishfully and start living hopefully. Get involved. Pass information on. Stand up. Vote. Help to change these laws and help to bring down corrupt prosecutors and judges. I'm not afraid to say that. I'll march all day long for that. If you don't deserve to sit on the bench, you don't deserve to be in that position, I'm not going to vote for you again if I did in the past. And if it means marching, knowing that there is some proof about some evidence about your bad behavior and your corruption in the judicial system, then we got to do something about it. We can't be afraid. We have a freedom of speech. We have a freedom to say what we believe, as long as you're doing it in the way it needs to be done, without bringing some threats that can get you incarcerated. I'm keeping it real, because what I've seen over the years, it's definitely, we definitely need some help in our judicial system, and it's going to take an act of God. It's going to take some work, faith, but we got to still step out in hope, be stepping out in hope, and we still got to stand. We got to continue to stand until we no longer can. And then if we can sit and still do the work, because we got to do it. And it's not over with until God says it's over with. But see, we don't necessarily have to trump through some tropical rainforest and slither in the mud in order to find hope. Hope is right here. You believe in Christ, hope is right here. But you do need to be more hopeful and get off that wishful train and start living on the hopeful train. We got to take a risk of living hopeful, of really, really living and doing the work, doing something, stepping out, but actually doing it. Not just wanting it, but actually doing it. And there's a lot of ways to do it. In your state, there's a lot of connections. You just got to get with those connections. You got to put in the work. That's just like if you want to be thinner, you don't wish you was thinner. You start living to be thinner. You take a walk, put on your running shoes, put on your walking shoes, go to the gym, work out in your garage. There are things. There's a lot more. Instead of wishing you can make a difference, start living to make that difference. And we all run the risk of being disappointed when we put in the work, right? And I know a lot of people are disappointed by what happened and the verdict, and also being rejected. Not everything is for everybody, but we can't opt out of life and live a hopeless life because of this. There is something that God's trying to tell us, and I do believe that. And if you are a believer and you're a true believer, you're not going to give up on God. You're not going to do that. See, we can't hold up in our four walls, because it's more of a destroyer than anything. There's going to be conflict. We've seen it. But if you can stay away from foolishness, stay away from it. Pick your conflict. Pick your battles. Because when you pick your battles, and you know that those are the battles that God wants you to fight, there are some wonderful possibilities. And you know what? You really don't know your strength until you step out and live in that hopefulness. And God will give you what you need. And I know that stepping out may be hard to do when you're feeling disappointed, scared, fearful, even insecure or shy. But you got to keep reminding yourself that hopeful feelings often follow hopeful acts. And I say, R. Kelly, you are hopeful in the midst of these 30 years that they want you to serve. I don't myself believe that you gonna serve all those years. I don't believe it. Because I know God is a fair and just God. And it's not in our time. See, we can't put our trust in man or woman, like per se. You can't put your let me tell you something. You can't put your trust in man. We already knew pretty much most of us that what was gonna happen on Wednesday. I'll put my trust in her and them because I already knew pretty much that something was gonna happen. I put my trust in God. And I need people to still stand and keep putting their trust in God and not in man. That's deep. Because I'm going to tell you something, putting your trust in man and woman, you will get disappointed every time. Disappointed every time. You will get disappointed every time. But if you put your trust in God, God's going to see you through. He's going to allow us to continue to stand. He's going to allow RSK to still stand. He can dry up your eyes. He can help you see things differently. He can help you face another day. Can you imagine what it's like beyond prison walls? I've never been there, but I've heard about it. But can you imagine that if we step out in hope and all his fans just start bombarding him with letters and praying that he will be able to have visitation? Let me tell you something. They don't want what we want. They don't want what God wants for R. Kelly. Because I told you, they don't fear God. They have a lack of regard for humans. And I said that before. These people don't fear God. These people have put their trust in man. And so anybody that believes that they have power through man and money and George Soros and the Black Lives Movement and the Me Too movement, all of that, and name some other folks, Kimberly Fox and all the other ones, let me tell you something. When you put your trust in man, this is what we're going to get. But when we put our trust in God and move in silence and do the work and come together, you can be unstoppable. You know what I seen with Roe versus Wade? Them people was already ready. Had their homemade signs already ready. LGBTQ already ready. I'm telling you, all of this going against your own people and fighting and bickering, how can they take you serious if you're not going to be serious enough to let the foolishness go? If you're not serious enough to let the foolishness go, how can they believe that we're serious? And some of you, God has confronted with opportunities, but you just couldn't let go of the foolishness. Back and forth, arguing, folks doing things they shouldn't do. We got to learn to say yes to God, because that's always a hopeful thing. And God will allow you some amazing experiences. And on behalf of R. Kelly, put the mess aside so he can feel that peace that surpasses all understanding from his supporters, fans, or people that are just against injustice and see the injustice and willing to fight to curb the injustice that we have seen for the last 3 years. Our sense of hope has to grow. You know that story, I don't recall what it's about, but it's looking for Mr. Goodbar. We got to stop looking for Mr. Goodbar and start looking for God and making sure that that hope that he's already instilled in us to do the work and to walk away from bad bars. Stop looking for foolishness and beefs and battles that's not going to never make a change in our own lives, in our own culture. It's never going to make a change if people don't stop and say, how is this helping? How is it helping? Stop giving attention to foolishness. We can't be a hopeless anything. We have to be a hopeful everything. And we got to take a chance, take a step, and hope will follow. And soon God's going to dry your eyes. And you're going to be able to sleep at night, sleep peaceful. And some people may say, well, you know, that's not making me lose sleep. Some people have lost sleep over this injustice. Some people have lost sleep. Some people are broken. But I encourage you today, don't give up your faith. Don't give up your hope. Live in hopefulness. RSK is still standing. And if you don't know something, nowadays what they do is they put inmates on a suicide watch. He's not suicidal, RSK, but they still, that's the standard or the policies that they use now. Because some of them might have done it, but he didn't. He still has a life to live. He still has music to make. And for you that came over to my channel and I was playing that music in my car, they gave me a copyright claim, so I deleted the video. But that's not going to stop us from playing R. Kelly's music. That's not going to stop that man from being able to sing. He might be able to make music behind bars. Some people have done it. They've made music behind bars and they got out. But I don't believe that he's going to serve those 30 years. I don't believe it. I believe God. I believe God. And even though we didn't get the outcome we were seeking on Wednesday, but it still can happen. And so there's words of hope and hope from the word. Sarah Lee Grafstein says, how can God direct our steps if we're not taking any? You know, that's a pretty profound statement. How can God direct our steps if we're not taking any? And we have to remember to take steps in the right direction. And if we ask God to direct our steps, he's not going to direct your steps over into some foolishness and over into some mess. He's going to direct your steps over into something wholesomeness, something that aligns with his will and his word and his way. And then Psalms 84, 5-7, and then verse 11 and verse 12 said, blessed are those whose strength is in you, who have set their hearts on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. and go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does he withhold from those whose walk is blameless. O Lord Almighty, blessed is the one who trusts in you. May God have his sun and shield upon R. Kelly, and may he bestow favor upon R. Kelly, and that he will not withhold good things from him while he's behind bars, while he's incarcerated. May R. Kelly be used to be a beacon of hope and a light for others. See, because I believe, like when Paul was incarcerated, you all remember the story of Paul being in jail? He started singing songs, praising God. And you remember how he was released from jail? How those gates opened up? We got to go back to being hopeful, trusting in God, and believing what God can do. It's going to take a miracle, an act of God. But we can't trust in man. And I heard that a lot about Judge Donnelly. We know what type of woman she is, what type of judge she is. But see, in order to be that judge, she had to be that person, right? And we see what type of person she is and how she handled herself on the bench. Now, Don Osgood says, if for some reason your eyes and ears become blocked by pain or loss of depression, then you need to do something. Do whatever it takes, even if it's difficult or expensive or inconvenient. Ask for help if you need it. Beg for help if necessary. But life is too short. Relationships too precious. God's messages too vital to risk not hearing them. God's messages too vital to risk not hearing them. And then Tracy Mullins and Ann Spangler says, become an answer to someone else's prayer. Become an answer to someone else's prayer. Now I want to stop right there before I finish reading this quote, what they wrote here, because we got to become an answer to someone else's prayer. And are we becoming that answer to someone else's prayer? And we're looking for God to be the answer of our prayers. And we're talking about what's right, wholesome, what's righteous and wholesome. Becoming an answer to someone else's prayer. So let me start over here. It says, become an answer to someone else's prayer. Visit a sick relative or friend. Call someone and encourage them. Mow a neighbor's yard. Give your spouse a back rub. Write a check for a local charity. Compliment a coworker. Volunteer at a shelter for the homeless. Pray for R. Kelly. Write R. Kelly. And do some things that need to be done to be an answer to someone else's prayer. And maybe, it would be something. And something else? They go on to say, lift your spirits by lifting someone else's load. So Catherine Patterson says, hope, it's not a feeling. It is something you do. Yeah, it's something you do. Because guess what? You don't just be that wishful thinker. You got to start living hopefully. and helping others. And one of the things this is about is just stepping out in hope and knowing that you're still standing, R. Kelly is still standing, and R. Kelly, you are hopeful in the midst of facing 30 years. See, because, and we know there's the upcoming trial, but a cup of hope, resting in the promise of God's faithfulness. Because some people can't sleep because their pillow is too wet. But God can provide you with a dry pillow, a dry pillowcase. He can give you that peace that, that surpasses all understanding, so that you will no longer have restless nights. And he can restore your hope so that you'll get up and step out in hopefulness. And God will order your steps if you are stepping. And if you have faith and you believe in God's promises, he doesn't do it in our time, he does it in his time. And God will not lead you to step into some foolishness. He will lead you to step away from foolishness. So R. Kelly, stand. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep standing. Keep stepping out in hope. And I pray that each and every one of you that are dealing with your own situation and your own family members that are incarcerated or haven't received justice, that you will continue to step out in hope yourself. And you will be hopeful. And you will allow God to direct your steps and move you away from things that are not wholesome, that are not righteousness, but move you in the direction of Christ. Moving you in the direction of Christ. I pray each and every one of you would have a blessed, safe weekend. Enjoy food, enjoy family, have fun, enjoy the sun. If you can go swimming, enjoy the lake, whatever you're going to do today, this weekend, or even this evening, but go fishing. Just take some time away from the chaos. And I'm sure we can all use it. And you know what? There's no need to battle with anyone. You can have smart conversations like I did today, but there are some folks that's just stuck in their own demise because they have fallen into a system that they know is not for them and they recognize it, but then they don't know how to get out of their own demise. As I was stating earlier in this video, they're stuck in it. But we have to recognize our eyes definitely should be open and our ears definitely should be listening. But may you all have a good evening. Peace out.